Listen to them, children of the night. What music they make.
They made her a grave too cold and damp for a soul so warm and true. And she's gone to the lake of the Dismal swamp, where all night long, by a firefly lamp, she paddles her white canoe. And her firefly lamp I soon shall see, and her paddle I soon shall hear. Long and loving our life shall be, and I'll hide the maid in a cypress tree when the footsteps of death is near. Away to the Dismal swamp he speeds. His path was rugged and sore, through the tangled juniper bed of reeds, through many a fen where the serpent feeds, and man never trod before. And when on earth he sunk to sleep, if slumber his eyelids knew, he lay where the deadly vine doth weep, its venomous tear and nightly steep the flesh with a blistering dew. And near him the she-wolf stirred the brake, and the copper snake breathed in his ear, till he, starting, cried from his dream awake, "Oh, when shall I see the dusky lake and the white canoe of my dear?" He saw the lake, and a meteor bright, quick over its surface played. "Welcome," he cried, "my dear one's light." And the dim shore echoed for many a night the name of the death-cold maid. To the hollowed abode of the birchen bark, far, far he followed the meteor spark. The wind was high and the clouds were dark, and the boat returned no more. But oft from the Indian hunter's camp, this lover and maid so true are seen at the hour of midnight damp to cross the lake by a firefly lamp and paddle their white canoe.
Children of the night.
It is said that in Ulthar, which lies beyond the river Sky, that no man may kill a cat. And this I verily believe as I gaze upon him who sits purring before the fire. For the cat is cryptic and close to strange things which men cannot see. He is the soul of antique Egyptus, and the bearer of tales from forgotten cities like Miro and Ophir. He is kin to the jungle lords and heir to the secret horrors of Africa. The Sphinx is his cousin, and he speaks her language, but he is far more ancient than the Sphinx and remembers that which she hath forgotten. In Ulthar, before the Burgesses forbade the killing of cats, there dwelt an old man and his wife who delighted to trap and slay the cats of their neighbors. Why they did this I know not, save that many hate the voice of the cat in the night and take it ill that cats run stealthily about yards and gardens in the twilight. But for whatever reason, this old man and woman took pleasure in trapping and slaying every cat which came near to their hovel. And from some of the sounds heard after dark, many villagers fancied that the manner of slaying was exceedingly peculiar. But the villagers did not discuss such things with the old man and his wife because of the habitual expression on their withered faces, and because their cottage was so small and so darkly hidden under the spreading oaks at the back of a neglected yard. In truth, much as the owners of cats hated these odd folk, they feared them more. And instead of berating them as brutal assassins, they merely took care that no cherished pet should stray toward the remote hovel under the dark trees. When, through some unavoidable oversight, a cat was missed and sounds heard after dark, the loser would lament impotently or console himself by thanking fate that it was not one of his children who had thus vanished. For the people of Ulthar were simple and knew not, whence it is all cats first came. One day, a caravan of strange wanderers from the south entered the narrow cobbled streets of Ulthar. They were unlike any other roving folk who passed through the village twice every year. In the marketplace, they told fortunes for silver, and they bought gay beads from merchants. What was the land of these wanderers? None could tell. But it was seen that they were given to strange prayers, and that they had painted the sides of their wagons with strange figures of human bodies and the heads of cats and hawks, rams and lions. And the leader of the caravan wore a headdress with 2 horns and a curious disc betwixt the horns. There was in this singular caravan a little boy with no father or mother, but only a tiny black kitten to cherish. The plague had not been kind to him, and yet had left him with this small, furry thing to mitigate his sorrow. When one is very young, one can find great relief in the lively antics of a black kitten. So the boy, whom the wanderer people called Menez, smiled more often than he wept as he sat playing with his graceful kitten as he sat on the steps of an oddly painted wagon. On the 3rd morning of the wanderer's stay in Ulthar, Menez could not find his kitten. And as he sobbed aloud in the marketplace, certain villagers told him of the old man and his wife and the sounds heard in the night. And when he heard these things, his sobbing gave place to meditation, and finally to prayer. He stretched out his arms toward the sun and prayed in a tongue no villager could understand, though indeed the villagers did not try very hard to understand, since their attention was mostly taken up by the sky and the odd shapes the clouds were assuming. It was very peculiar. But as the little boy uttered his petition, there seemed to form overhead in shadowy, nebulous figures of exotic things, of hybrid creatures, crowned with horn-flanked discs. Oh, nature is full of such illusions to impress the imaginative mind. That night, the wanderers left Ulthar and were never seen again. And the householders were troubled when they noticed that in all the village, there was not a cat to be found. From each hearth, the familiar cat had vanished. Cats, large, small, gray, black, striped, yellow, and white. Old Crennan, the burgomaster, swore that the wandering folk had taken the cats away in revenge for the killing of Menace's kitten, and he cursed the caravan and the little boy. But Nith, the lean notary, declared that the old cotter and his wife were more likely the persons to suspect, for their hatred of cats was notorious and increasingly bold. Still, no one dared complain to the sinister couple, even when the little Atal, the innkeeper's son, vowed that he had at twilight seen all the cats of Ulthar in that accursed yard under the trees, pacing very slowly and solemnly in a circle around the cottage, two abreast, as in performance of some unheard of rite of beasts. The villagers did not know how much to believe from such a small boy. And though they feared that the evil pair had charmed all the cats to their deaths, they preferred not to chide the old cotter till they met him outside his dark and repellent yard. So Ulthar went to sleep in vain anger. And when the people awakened at dawn, behold, every cat was back at his accustomed hearth. Large, small, black, gray, striped, yellow, and white, none was missing. Very sleek and fat did the cats appear, and sonorous with purring content. The citizens talked with one another of the affair, and marveled not a little. Old Crennan again insisted that it was the wandering folk who had taken them, since the cats did not return alive from the cottage of the ancient man and wife. But all agreed on one thing, that the refusal of all the cats to eat their portions of meat or drink their saucers of milk was exceedingly curious. And for 2 whole days, the sleek, lazy cats of Ulthar would touch no food, but only doze by the fire or in the sun. It was fully a week before the villagers noticed that no lights were appearing at dusk in the windows of the cottage under the dark trees. Then the lean Neath remarked that no one had seen the old man or his wife since the night the cats were away. And in another week, the burgomaster decided to overcome his fears and call at the strangely silent dwelling as a matter of duty. Though, in doing so, he was careful to take with him Shang, the blacksmith, and Thule, the cutter of stone, as witnesses. And when they had broken down the frail door, they found only this: 2 cleanly picked human skeletons on the earthen floor, and a number of singular beetles crawling in the shadowy corners. There was subsequently much talk among the burgesses of Ulthar. Stath the coroner disputed at length with Neath the lean notary, and Crennan and Shang and Thule were overwhelmed with questions. Even little Atal, the innkeeper's son, was closely questioned and given a sweetmeat as reward. They talked of the old cotter and his wife, of the caravan of strange wanderers, of small Menez and his black kitten, and of the prayer of Menez, and of the sky during that prayer, and of the doings of the cats on the night that the caravan left, and of what was later found in the cottage under the dark trees in the repellent yard. And in the end, the burgesses passed that remarkable law, which is told of by traders in Hatheg and discussed by travelers in Nair, namely, that in Ulthar, no man may kill a cat.
Children of the night.
I'm such a quiet little ghost, demure and inoffensive. The other spirits say I'm most absurdly apprehensive. Through all the merry hours of night, I'm uniformly cheerful. I love the dark, but in the light, I own I'm rather fearful. Each dawn I cower down in bed, in every brightness seeing that weird, uncanny form of dread, an awful human being. Of course, I'm told they can't exist, that nature would not let them. But Willie Spook, the humanist, declares that he has met them. He says they do not glide like us, but walk in eerie paces. They're solid, not diaphanous, with arms and legs and faces. And some are beggars, and some are kings, and some have and some are wanting. They squander time in doing things instead of simply haunting. They talk of art, the horrid crew, and things they call ambitions. Oh yes, I know as well as you, they're only superstitions. But should the dreadful day arrive, when starting up I see one, I'm sure 'twill scare me quite alive. And then, oh then, I'll be one.
Listen to them. Children of the night. What music they make.